What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Open Great League, and the team that we're going to be taking a look at today is Gastrodon, DEWGONG, and Galarian Moltres. Now, the thought behind this team was I was like, alright, Mudslappers are absolutely everywhere. They're really, really good. I need two Pokemon that are going to do well into Mudslappers. And then I was like, okay, DEWGONG and Moltres, both of them are solid because DEWGONG is a great safe swap. It has Ice, fast move pressure for the most common Mudslappers, and it has coverage in Drill Run that our lead Gastrodon is using for Mud Slap damage. So anything that doesn't want to see the Gastrodon and pivots into my DEWGONG will have to take a Drill Run. And DEWGONG is also a great safe swap for Galarian Moltres because you can grab shields to flip switch, and getting all shields down in a matchup with a Pokemon that has Brave Bird is always awesome. And then it is weak to Electric and Rock, which are two of the weaknesses of Moltres as well. So very nice synergy there. And then Gastrodon basically just offset those weaknesses. And yeah, so before we hop into the battles, I want to say a special thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Green Mustache, Sohan Patil, CD Slaskus, and Eliana, as well as the legend trainer members on this channel: Big Burden, Andrew Pitten, Musachu, Noodleman, Speedster, Esteros, Liminal Lagomorph, and Tom Spencer. Let's hop into some battles. All right, in the first match, we've got Gastrodon into Primeape. So this is a neutral lead, but honestly, on this team, this is where we'd like to see the Primeape. The opponent is going to farm up 5 Karate Chops before throwing their energy, so this could be a close combat. Wow, they actually do full send a close combat, and now in comes a Lapras. Now Lapras will be hit with the Earth Power before I come in with my Moltres, because I don't have a great response to Lapras, but I do have a Psywave resist on this team, and Moltres being a double resistance to Psywave is really nice. I know I can throw out any one charge move, so I will let the first move go. It is just the Sparkling Aria, and now I'm going to commit to the full farm down to have energy to threaten the Primeape if it wants to come back in. My opponent does grab a shield with the second Sparkling Aria, but we get the full Sucker Punch farm down. Back in comes the Primeape, and Primeape now will be met with Fly number 1. Fly number 1 is going to get shielded, a little bit of overfarm, now making it to Fly number 2. And if my opponent wants to keep their Primeape, they're going to have to double shield, and they're also going to have to throw, or else I'm going to get to Fly number 3. My opponent lost track of my energy. Here comes Fly number 3. This will be able to pick up the knockout, and in the back, it's a Dusclops. In comes the DEWGONG, and this game is over, so my opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match. Neutral-ish lead once again. We've got Gastrodon into Greninja. I say ish because we just have kind of such a bulk advantage, so it doesn't really matter that the opponent hits so much harder than we do, because even body slams are pretty threatening against Greninja when these mud slaps are doing as much damage as they are. That said, I'm going to bait, and I believe my opponent calls the bait, so I pivot into my DEWGONG. I sneak an entire Ice Shard in for free, and I get the catch of the Hydro Cannon where it is resisted, and I lower out the Dedenne, which is absolutely amazing. And that's kind of what I meant when I said the synergy between DEWGONG and Moltres is fantastic, because I just baited out a Dedenne with my DEWGONG. I don't really need to flip switch here because I've baited out the hard answer, and now I know my Galarian Moltres can absolutely run free. So in comes the Gastrodon, we get the Mudslap farm down, Dedenne is no longer on the field, and in the back is a Gligar. I'm going to throw a Body Slam here, hoping that my opponent lets it go, because if they do, they're in Sucker Punch farm down range, and it's a 2 shield versus 2 shield. My opponent knows what's going to happen, they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, Dedenne on the lead. Honestly, this is where we'd like to see it. The opponent's going to safe switch into a Marowak, and I instantly respond with Galarian Moltres. Of course, Galarian Moltres, double resisting Mud Slaps, and I know I can survive one Rock Slide here, so I will let it go. The opponent ends up baiting with a Bone Club, a bit of an odd bait from the opponent. I know one Rock Slide doesn't KO, and that wouldn't allow them to really flip switch, so I'm just going to connect with a Fly. Back in comes the Dedenne, and Dedenne will of course get a massive farm down here, but I'm realizing that I'm going to make it to at least back-to-back flies before they're able to pick up the knockout. So I may as well start putting on this pressure, and it looks like 2 flies are going to be enough to KO. So you know what? Here comes Fly number 2, and I believe if my opponent wants to get the full farm down, they're going to have to take a lot of these Sucker Punches. We've got the Dedenne into the red health range and grabbed a shield, so we're in an absolutely fantastic position. I expect them to full send the play rough and then instantly pivot out of this matchup, so I'm pivoting into my DEWGONG. In the back, it's a Diggersby, and with a shield advantage, this game is over. My opponent knows it, they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Okay, this time we've got Gastrodon into Marowak on the lead. This is a neutral lead, and I actually don't like how I played this out. So you're going to see I end up farming up to the Earth Power. And I believe I actually full send it here, knowing that I would win the zero shield scenario. However, it's very likely that the Marowak is going to commit the shield here, and now I end up going for a Bone Club catch. I end up catching what could be a Rock Slide, so I end up committing the shield. I'm fine with committing the shield here because my opponent has already committed the shield, but this is the problem with it, is that they likely have an answer to the DEWGONG in the back, and they do with Dunsparce. So the next time I see a Marowak lead, I'm going to try and adapt, and we'll see how I adapt later in this video. But I am able to connect with Icy Wind number 1. Ice Wind number 2 will be able to connect here unless a Rock Slide picks up the knockout, but I don't think it will after their attack is lowered. Yeah, the Rock Slide nerf just hurt Dunsparce so much, and same with the rollout nerf. So now I'm able to get to a second Icy Wind. I actually end up putting the Dunsparce into the red health range. I'm going to pivot back into my Gastrodon. Now I'm going to go for a Body Slam on the CMP tie with their next charge move. And now what does my opponent want to come in with? Are they going to show me their third? No, they're going to get a farm down with the Marowak, but I don't believe that will allow them to get to a Rock Slide. So I'm going to come in with the Moltres here. Can I get the full Sucker Punch farm down? I can. That is absolutely massive. And in the back, it's a Clodsire. So yes, this is still a little bit tricky, especially if my opponent is on Stone Edge. If my opponent is on Stone Edge, this matchup could be pretty tricky. I connect with the Brave Bird, which is nice, and I have a shield, but why would I need to use a shield when I can get a Soul Read of a catch, catching a Sludge Bomb of all things, and now I can just commit the shield and either go for a full Sucker Punch farm down or make it to back-to-back flies, and it looks like it's going to be the former. Sucker Punch farm down the Clodsire, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, we've got Gastrodon into Azumarill. So this is okay because this is honestly where we'd like to see it. DEWGONG doesn't have a great matchup into Azumarill, but the Moltres certainly doesn't. I am a noob. I throw as soon as I get to my Earth Power, and my opponent punishes me for it by making a catch on a Drifblim where it's double resisted, and now in comes the DEWGONG. DEWGONG now will be able to outpace and make it to an Icy Wind before my opponent makes it to a Shadow Ball, so they are forced to commit the shield. But now that I've lowered their attack with the Icy Wind, I know I can survive the Shadow Ball, and I can survive the Astonishes after, get a full farm down. I've already grabbed a shield in this matchup, and I'm maintained switched. So, or I've maintained a switch. So, looking like a pretty good position. The opponent, of course, does get the full bubble farm down, but that's okay. Back in comes the Gastrodon. I do get my Mud Slap in, and I'm going to commit the shield back. I'm not expecting my opponent to bait. They full send the Play Rough. They'll be able to make it to a second Play Rough before I make it to an Earth Power, but that's okay because I know I can survive one. I was just matching shields with my opponent. That's Play Rough number 2, and now they're energy dry. So I'm going to overfarm a little bit here. Going to go for a Earth Power one turn before, or one bubble before they make it to their next charge move. I could have thrown on the CMP tie, but I didn't want to get too low in case something in the back could have farmed me down before I made it to another move. That said, I'm able to get to the Earth Power against the Diggersby in the back, and as soon as I grab that shield, this game is over. All I have to do is Sucker Punch farm this thing down into range where a Brave Bird will KO, and it takes like over 3 Fire Punches in order to pick up the knockout here. They're probably about 2 plus the quick attacks. That said, they're at the back-to-back Fire Punches now, so I'm going to take one. I'm going to full send the Brave Bird on the CMP tie, hoping that this is enough to pick up the knockout, and I believe it is. It picks up the knockout on the Diggersby, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, we've got Gastrodon into Marowak once again. Okay, so we've seen this lead before. Let's see how we want to adapt. Are we going to do the exact same thing? Or no, we're going to instead throw the Body Slam one turn before I make it to the Earth Power, knowing that's when my opponent threw it last time, and the opponent commits the shield. So I'm willing to commit the shield back because I win CMP in this matchup apparently, and we have the exact same pacing. So I'll always be able to connect with a Body Slam before they're able to get to a Bone Club. And as soon as I grab that second shield, I know that this game is pretty much over. I would be able to win the 2 shield scenario, but why would I do that when I can just come in with my Moltres, get a huge Sucker Punch farm down, come out with a Brave Bird loaded for whatever wants to come back in, or for whatever wants to come in the back. I can take a Rock Slide, no problem. It ends up being a Scizor. Wasn't sure if one fly would pick up the knockout from full HP, so I actually full send a Brave Bird, and now I'm instantly pivoting, and it's a Giratina in the back. So this game is over. The opponent is playing it to the bitter end, though. They're going to connect with their first charge move. It is the Ancient Power that is super effective damage. I'm lagging a little bit like crazy. It looks like my opponent got 3 Shadow Claws in there somehow, but it does not matter. Here comes an Icy Wind. That's super effective damage. It puts them into farm down range. They will make it to 1 final charge move, but even if this is a super effective Ancient Power, it's not going to be enough to pick up the knockout on the DEWGONG. We can now Ice Shard, farm down the Marowak, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Gastrodon into Stunfisk. So this is a fantastic lead. The opponent safe switches into a Furret, and I have once again a fantastic response with my Moltres. Moltres gonna end up throwing the fly on the Sandpitai as my opponent makes it to the back-to-back Swifts, but because their Sucker Punches are resisted and their Trailblaze is resisted, they're forced to go straight Swift, and it takes over 2 Swifts to pick up the knockout on the Moltres. So I'm actually going to let both go and then just look for a full Sucker Punch farm down before they're able to make it to charge move number 3, and that is exactly what's going to happen. We maintain switch, we don't have to give up a shield to do it, and yes, that Stunfisk will get the Thundershock farm down, but it does not matter when we have such a dominant matchup with Gastrodon. So in comes the dash Gastrodon, it's another Drifblim in the back, and now here comes DEWGONG. I'm lagging like crazy. That allows my opponent to get to the Shadow Ball before I make it, but their only win con here is full setting the Shadow Ball and hoping that I no shield. But I'm going to shield that up. I'm now going to go for the Icy Wind. This will lower the opponent's attack. And yeah, my opponent doesn't want to play it out anymore. They resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Gastrodon into Scizor. So this is actually a pretty decent lead because Bullet Punches are resisted, whereas Mudslaps are neutral. And because Scizor is so glassy, this is a very dominant matchup for the Gastrodon. That said, they're going to farm up to the Trailblaze. They're likely to bait with the Night Slash. Almost all Scizors do. But in the back is a Diggersby. Now, Diggersby will be met with the Earth Power, and I'm actually going to come in with my DEWGONG here because DEWGONG, even though it has a more neutral matchup in the sense that it takes neutral from Scorching Sands, which is the stab move of Diggersby, I can actually survive 2 of those, and I don't really want my DEWGONG to see the Scizor as the biggest thing, whereas Moltres, I'd be fine with having on the Scizor because we are complete wall to their charge moves. That said, the opponent is going to make it to Scorching Sands number 2. Their first one debuffed my attack, and guess what? Their second one is going to as well. So they get 2 attack drops with 2 Scorching Sands. In the back is a Jellicent. I'm just going to debuff their attack. It's not like any of my charge moves are going to do too much damage anyways. They instantly reset onto their Scizor, but I read them like a book. I come in with my Gastrodon. I get the full Mudslap farm down. Back in comes the Jellicent. At this point, I believe they're only at like 4 hexes. So I'm basically just going to grab a shield with the Earth Power. The opponent overfarms, making it to the back-to-back charge moves here. So I will just let this go, especially because I know I have such a dominant matchup with Galarian Moltres in the back. In comes the Galarian Moltres, and upon seeing the Moltres, the opponent instantly resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Gastrodon into Pidgeot. Okay. Our first like terrible lead. I safe switch into the DEWGONG, and my safe switch is unanswered. The opponent instead is going to chip with an Air Cutter before getting out of this matchup, which is a bit of an odd play because Air Cutter has a chance to boost your attack, which means they are instantly resetting it if they get it. That said, they respond with a Dusclops after chipping, and this is a very neutral matchup for both Pokemon involved, but they have a pacing advantage, and even though we can make it to back-to-back Icy Winds, because they chip with that Air Cutter, there's not really any way we can flip switch in this matchup. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lower their attack over and over. I believe I can actually still live a Shadow Punch from this range after debuffing their attack twice, and I do. That actually forces my opponent to throw the charge moves back-to-back. Dusclops winning CMP over DEWGONG. I did not know DEWGONG had that type of bulk. I knew it was bulky, but holy cow. But now in comes the Moltres. We get a huge farm down, and the Pidgeot comes in. So something is clearly weak to the Moltres in the back. Coming in with a Pidgeot here, or either that or their A strong to the Gastrodon. That said, I'm once again lagging like crazy. But because I'm reading that my opponent is weak to this in the back, I'm going to shield that up. In comes the Gastrodon. I think I can get a full Mudslap farm down before they would get to another charge move. So the opponent is forced to switch out of that matchup, even though my fast move was double resisted. And in the back, it is a Marowak, which explains why my opponent wanted to get rid of that Moltres so bad with their Pidgeot. and they knew their Marowak had a neutral matchup into my Gastrodon. That said, they're at the back-to-back charge moves, but it does not matter. I banked a Fly from earlier. Fly picks up the knockout on the Marowak, and now it's just a Sucker Punch farm down. They have one charge move here, but they are 3 gusts away from having the back-to-back moves. So my opponent will go down from the Sucker Punch, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, Gastrodon into Marowak. So let's see how I play this matchup differently. And here it is. I'm instantly pivoting into my DEWGONG. And why am I doing this? It's because I have 2 better answers in the back. So I may as well get out of that matchup. And in the back, we lure out a Drapion, which is really, really nice. This is something, of course, that our Moltres wouldn't love to see with the Sucker Punches being resisted. And we're able to grab a shield from the opponent. They're gonna throw their charge move to pick up the knockout on the CMP tie. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shield that up, and now I'm gonna go for the drill run, because at this point, if I grab 2 shields from my opponent, I'm gonna be in a fantastic position, and it doesn't even matter because our Gastrodon can still fully mud slap farm down the Drapion, absolutely no problem. So now I'm just gonna let this go. They're at the back-to-back Aqua Tails. Aqua Tail actually picks up the knockout on the DEWGONG from that range. Here comes a crunch now from the opponent, and I know I can live this, but I'm hoping I can get a full mud slap farm down before they make it to another charge move, and I can. And now it's just about what's going to come back in here. It is going to be the Marowak. I'm now able to outpace because I got that mud slap farm down, connect with an earth power. The opponent lets it go, but they live on 1 HP, but I'm reading that they're weak to the Gastrodon in the back, so I'm going to commit the shield. And in the back, it's a Clodsire, so a fantastic read. I'm going to go for the earth power on suboptimal timing, throwing as soon as I get there. Not allowing my opponent to throw the Sludge Bomb in case they got it instantly to pick up the knockout and waste all of my energy. Instead, that connects, that puts them into the red health range. They're on Sludge Bomb as well, so that means this game is over. The opponent resigns the match at 1 HP, and we are able to take that win. Into potentially the final match of the video, we've got Gastrodon into Giratina. Same kind of situation. We've got 2 better answers in the back, so I'm going to safe switch into my DEWGONG. And DEWGONG, with an energy lead, can pose like a pretty difficult threat to a Quagsire answer, because they are forced to go for Stone Edges here because that is super effective damage, whereas Aqua Tail is resisted. And if I get the shield call right, suddenly this matchup is extremely awkward for them, because now I can lower their attack times 2. I'm going for a slight undercharge in case they let that go so I can get the farm down, but they do shield that up, and this is a fantastic position to be in. I'm going to double shield my DEWGONG, hoping that I can flip switch here. It looks like I might not be able to. I think I actually could have gotten the full farm down there. I probably should have committed to it, but I didn't even want to get chipped with an Aqua Tail, I guess. And back in comes the Giratina, so a bit of an interesting play from my opponent. I know I can also live any charge move here, which means I'm still going to be able to connect with a super effective Icy Wind against the opponent, and if they commit the shield, then this game is over because they have no shields left in play, and they do. So in comes Galarian Moltres, and with an energy lead and no shields left in play, this thing is an absolute menace. Brave Bird hits neutral on so many Pokemon in this meta, and it just is an absolute nuke, which is why you see me over farming to the absolute max. Here, I think I end up just going for the back-to-back flies because I didn't want to lower my defense just yet. And yes, they can connect with another Fire Punch, but as long as I'm 3 off the charge move, then I should be able to pick up the knockout on the Giratina. So here comes 1 more fly on the Diggersby. That's going to pick up the knockout. Can I get 3 more Sucker Punches to make it to the fly? And I can on 1 HP, able to pick up the knockout here, and we are able to take that win. So yeah, that was Gastrodon, DEWGONG, Moltres. To be completely honest with you, I've got some submissions that I want to run through. One of them I haven't been given access to. Just remember, if you're going to submit battles to the channel, please make sure you can give me access so that I can actually download and edit and make a video out of them. Otherwise, I can't do anything about it. Also, make sure you do it through Google Drive. I'm not going to find a way to download a YouTube video. That's just not what I do. That said, I have some submissions, and I kind of want to keep running with this team. I had a lot of success with it. I gained over 100 ELO, I believe, up to 2,904, I believe. And I really want to just climb all the way to Legend at this point. So hopefully that'll be in another video. And yeah, that's going to be it for me for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.